Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Nate here. And Skyrim is I don't think I've used this one before, tremendous-sized game that sends players into the equally tremendous universe of the Elder Scrolls. The land we get to explore in this now 7-year-old game is rich in locations, people, adventures, and opportunities. However, with such a vast world at our fingertips, there's certainly going to be a few things that don't always add up or make total sense. With a world this large, not all of our questions are going to get answers. But nonetheless, that's not going to stop us from seeking them. So sit back and relax as we dive into 5 more mysteries you may have missed in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Part 7. Starting off, we begin our journey not in Skyrim itself, but instead in the Soul Cairn, an already mysterious plane of oblivion, where the souls of those who have been soul-trapped are condemned to spend the next, well, forever. They're stuck in the cairn for eternity. In this strange realm, we can encounter a number of odd enemies. But one of the more interesting types of foes we meet, who also function as mini-bosses in a way, are mysterious entities the game refers to as Keepers. They're creatures that can be found across the gloomy world, donning dragonbone armor and weapons. And notably, they lack any defined head. Instead, a strange black mist and 2 glowing dots exist where one's supposed to be. They're also among the tallest NPCs in the game, much larger than a human or elf. Much like bone men or the other standard denizens of this place, Keepers are all very hostile. However, unlike all the other enemies we meet here, Keepers do seem to be fulfilling some distinct purpose other than just sporadically attacking any human passerby. You see, during the quest, Beyond Death, wherein the Dragonborn is sent to the Soul Cairn to find Valerica, the mother of Serena and wife of Lord Harkin, will ultimately locate her behind a sort of force field in a castle. In order to lift that force field, we need to kill a number of Keepers. So it can be assumed they have some role in keeping things, or at least keeping Valerica trapped here. Their name also gives some substance to that idea. But that's pretty much all we know about these fellows for sure, and it leaves a lot of questions not exactly answered. Why the lack of a face? Why the dragon plate armor? Etc, etc. During that same quest in which we try and free Valerica, we meet a dragon named Dwemer, who's been tasked with keeping her in the Soul Cairn forever, after he was tricked by the rulers of the realm when he made a journey here thousands of years ago. Some suspect that Dwemer didn't come alone, and that he may in fact have brought a small entourage of dragon priests or worshippers with him, who likewise were also forced to protect/imprison the vampiric woman. This would explain the dragon plate armor and their similar function in the game. Perhaps after so many centuries, the original faces and whatnot could have just faded as well. At least, that's what seems to be the most plausible theory. Perhaps we'll never know for sure what these odd entities are and what they're truly after. Next on our list, speaking of oversized enemies, after the Dragonborn DLC has been installed and the player surpassed level 80, while inside a settlement you may be accosted by an odd Redguard fellow named the Ebony Warrior. As his name suggests, he dons a full set of ebony armor, and if that's not enough for a random man marching across cities, he's also 20% taller than most Redguards. So clearly something's not completely normal about this dude. He'll approach the player and politely explain that he's defeated just about every warrior he could think of, but wishes to die in battle so that he might go to Sovngarde. This is already rather strange, as the Ebony Warrior is again a Redguard, and traditionally it's only Nords that seek Sovngarde. But hey, each to their own, I guess. He'll ask that you meet him at Last Vigil, a campsite in the Velothi Mountains, and fight to the death. When you arrive, he'll already be waiting, and your battle can begin. It will quickly become apparent as you start trading blows that the Ebony Warrior is no normal, well, warrior. With a base HP of 2071, the Ebony Warrior's ebony armor, and him somehow knowing a number of dragon shouts, this very well can be one of, if not the hardest fight in the game for many Dragonborns. Once defeated, our boy in Ebony will simply say, "At last, Sovngarde," before finally passing away. But who is, or was, this strange man? A Redguard fervently pursuing Sovngarde is an anomaly enough, and his knowledge of dragon shouts and insane height only make this respectable foe even more fascinating. This is no ordinary person. If he was, surely tales of his height alone would be spread far and wide. While we may never know who this mysterious man is for sure, that hasn't stopped the community from speculating. And currently, two major theories have emerged, both arguing that this man is in fact a god. The first theory suggests that the Ebony Warrior is actually a personification of a character named Raymond Ebonarm, or the Black Knight as he was called. In the Elder Scrolls II Daggerfall, we learn about Raymond in a book called the Ebon Arm. He's described as the god of war to the people of Yokuda, the island all Redguards descend from, is absurdly tall, and is always wearing ebony armor. So far, this may be our dude. He definitely fits the bill. However, there are also some things that don't really add up. For one, if this is the Yokudan god of war we're facing, why would he want to go to Sovngarde? And in the book, Raymond is described as having his right arm fused with an ebony sword, a characteristic not shared by the Ebony Warrior. So there are some flaws. The second theory implies that the Ebony Warrior could be Zenithar, divine of wealth, labor, and commerce. The reason for such an idea is that Zenithar has appeared as a Redguard before in a past game. In the Elder Scrolls III Morrowind, we can meet a Redguard prisoner to a battle mage named John Hawker. John Hawker would ask for the Nerevine's help in securing a scroll that he could use to escape. After you got him the scroll, Hawker would give you some gloves, and proceed to reveal himself to be Zenithar in the flesh, before disappearing. Though, if the Ebony Warrior is Zenithar, we're still left with the question why he wants to go to Sovngarde so badly. No matter, only the Ebony Warrior knows his true motives, and his lips are sealed. Coming at number 3, we have the curious case of what happened to Arnie Elgain. Arnie Elgain, or Arnie as I like to call him, is, or was, depending on where in his questline you're at, a professor at the College of Winterhold. He offers a series of side quests to the Dragonborn, so you might help him with some secret side project he's been working on. As you continue to help him, he'll slowly reveal the nature of his work. You see, Arnie is trying to unravel the mystery of what happened to the Dwemer by replicating on a small scale how he suspects they disappeared in the first place. After he has all the necessary materials and research, in the final stage of his questline, Arnie will begin hitting a special soul gem you secured for him with a unique Dwemer dagger. After a few swings, he'll simply vanish. That's it, Arniel will disappear and his quest will be completed. That's not totally the end of it though. You'll also be given a new spell called Summon Arniel's Shade, which allows you to conjure his ghost to act as a follower for 60 seconds at a time. But what happened to Arniel? How exactly did he die, if you can call it that, and why can you now summon his spirit? Well, as you may have guessed, no one knows, hence it's mentioned in this video. But like all the others, there are some theories. Many Dragonborns hold the opinion that when the Dwemer disappeared, they were all actually just bound to a massive robot called the Numidium, that the dwarves were trying to turn into a divine. It's a really long story, but the TLDR is that the dwarves wanted to make a god, so they built a really big robot and intended to power it with a fragment of the Heart of Lorkhan, basically a super powerful rock, but the plan backfired spectacularly. When the dwarves finally powered on their robot, they all had their souls bound to it, and disappeared. The robot itself didn't even turn on in the first place. These are just the spark notes of one super complex theory on the disappearance of the Dwemer. But, if true, it could also explain what happened to Arniel, as when he hit that soul gem and disappeared, he may have triggered a similar phenomenon. But rather than being bound to the Numidium, he was bound to the nearest living thing, which was instead the Dragonborn. This is why you can summon him. Either that, or mayhaps he just disintegrated and got lost on his way to Sovngarde. Though, I like the earlier theory. For fourth spot, what are Hag Ravens? Okay, well that's easy, they're weird bird people that can use magic, but you know what I mean. How are they created and what are they after? We do know for a fact that at some point in time, all Hag Ravens were normal humans, or at very least, kind of normal. During the quest, Repentance, we're told that Hag Ravens are former witches who have undergone a strange ritual. In Skyrim, we can meet a human woman named Anise, who has a Hag Raven sister, and in Solstheim at the Altar of Thrond, there's a pack of Hag Ravens who are actually humans back in Solstheim. So we know that much for sure. Hag Ravens all had their humanity at one point. But how did they lose it, and why give it up? This is where things get a bit murky. You know that group of Hag Ravens living at the Altar of Thrond I just mentioned? Well, let's go back to them for a bit. These three Hag Ravens are named Isobel, Felice, and Annette. And back in the Elder Scrolls III Morrowind's Blood Moon DLC, we could encounter Isabel, Felice, and Annette for ourselves. They'd also be at the Altar of Thrond, but they weren't Hag Ravens then. They were friendly witches worshipping Hircine, Daedric god of the hunt, and assisting with those suffering from lycanthropy, or werewolf disease for short. They would actually help the player out if you ever needed cured. Now, when we go to Thrawn's altar in Skyrim, they're all Hag Ravens. We don't really know how that happened or what went down between the two games. But considering they were all actively devoted to her scene then, assuming they remain so, it would make sense that the Daedric god does have a role to play. Transforming people into half-animals is also sort of Hircine's thing. He merges people into wolves with werewolves and bears with werebears. It makes sense that he could also be merging people and ravens into Hag Ravens. Even if the Daedric deity is what's responsible for this phenomenon, many questions are still left unaddressed. For instance, why do Hag Ravens seem to have an awkward alliance with the Forsworn? Why are they seemingly only in Skyrim and High Rock? So many questions that can perhaps only be answered by the birdfolk themselves. And finally, last on our list, this mystery is a whole lot less grand in its scheme than all the others in the video. It doesn't concern the disappearance of an entire civilization, nor a potential man-warrior-god thing, but instead, a couple of individual people and what they were planning. In the Thieves Guild, we can meet a Breton Guild member named Cynric Endel. He specializes in jailbreaks and getting folks who pay well enough out of prison if need be. He doesn't play a particularly notable role in the questline, and in fact is even regarded as non-essential, but I digress. Underneath Mercer Frey's desk, an odd letter can be found, titled, "Have Need of Cynric." With its author left unnamed, it reads as follows. Quote, Mercer, I'd consider it a personal favor if I could once again utilize Cynric's unique skills for a delicate situation in the Sidna mines. A close friend has been incarcerated in that horrible place, and I should like him freed as soon as possible. I'd recommend Cynric avoid the Forsworn element that's prevalent within the mine and stick to as simple an escape plan as possible. End quote. The obvious inquiries to make now are, who wrote this letter? Who's their friend, and what are they doing that got them in Sidna Mine in the first place? Clearly they're up to something no good. Sidna Mine, of course, is a notorious prison in Markarth, known for its brutality and being impossible to escape from. During one of the game's side quests, you escape from it. Now, of all the prisoners we can meet in Sidna Mine in Skyrim, none of them have been in for any less than a few years. So it's safe to assume that either that note to Mercer is very old, or whoever was stuck managed to get out somehow. A pretty remarkable feat, as up until the point when you escape from it, Sidna Mine is very much regarded as unescapable. So either Cynric is really good at what he does, or whoever was stuck in Sidna Mine and needed out simply just kinda got left there for a while. Who wrote this letter is also one of the things I'm really interested in finding out. Maven Blackbriar comes to mind, as she's known for having a very close relationship to the Thieves Guild, and it would make sense for her to be able to call upon personal favors. Erikr, Thane of Solitude, is another NPC on really good terms with Mercer's faction, though this letter doesn't come off across as pompous enough in order to be written by him. Whoever that poor soul who got sent to Sidna Mine was, and whoever their good friend that ordered the Thieves Guild to get them out is, we'll probably never know. But at least we ourselves in a separate quest do get an opportunity to finally put an end to the tyrannical prison that is Sidna Mine. And with that, we are going to wrap up. 5 more mysteries you may have missed in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Which of the ones featured on this list did you find to be the most thought-provoking or fascinating? And what mysterious phenomenons or unknown happenings have you encountered in Skyrim that I've yet to cover? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Thanks for stopping by, everyone, and hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everybody.